Welcome to the Filmcast review of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Or should I say Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 ? Exclamation. I'm going to read the plot summary of this movie. We'll just call it Dead Reckoning from this point forward.
Yes.
I'm going to read the plot summary from IMDb. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands. End quote. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the plot summary of literally every single other one of the Mission Impossible movies.
I really hope that Dead Reckoning Part 2 has a subtitle. So it's Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 2, Still Reckoning or something, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Indeed. Now, I do want to call out that in this early part of the review, the non-spoiler part, we are going to talk about the premise of the movie. That premise is not given away in any of the trailers. I know because I've watched every single one of them after I got home from the theater.
Good trailers. Yeah.
Great trailers, but they don't give away anything about the plot. So we are going to talk about the plot, but we are not going to give away what we consider to be spoilers until we say so. And if you're listening to the podcast, you hear the spoiler number. But just, you have been warned. Okay. All that said, I think all of us had a blast with Mission Impossible Fallout. Is that accurate to say?
Sure.
Right, guys?
Yes.
Sure. We all love that movie. A great time, amazing action set pieces, great villains, just a wonderful time at the cinema. So
Superman versus Ethan Hunt. What more can you want?
What more could you want in a movie? Spectacular movie. I saw that movie 5 times in theaters and listened to about 6+ hours worth of interviews with Christopher McQuarrie talking about the making of that movie. So I was like obsessed with that movie. So I was very excited about Dead Reckoning Part 1 coming out.
This was your movie that you wanted to stay alive long enough to see, Dave.
That's right. I was like, if I wanted to, like, the thing in my darkest hour during COVID, it's like, I want to stay alive long enough to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. The movie is out in theaters as we speak. It's doing okay. It's, they're as we're recording this, we are now aware that this is probably not going to be a Top Gun Maverick of this summer, but we'll see. Maybe it'll have legs. Doing okay. All that said, Devindra Hardawar, I'm so curious, as another hardcore Mission Impossible fan such as myself, what did you think of Dead Reckoning Part 1?
You know what? I had a ton of fun with it. I think it is a great entry in the Mission Impossible franchise, but I think it's also the weakest of the McQuarrie movies. And that's basically where I'm coming down with it. We're so used to like a big opening set pieces and things with these movies. This one doesn't quite have that. I think it's very talky and kind of takes a while to get into things while it sets up new characters and new plot lines and whatnot. I think the set pieces are great as always. I love the team, and the action we do get here is astounding. When the motorcycle jump happened, I was in a mostly full theater at 11 p.m. and people just started clapping. So this franchise is delivering on what I think we want and the sort of like cinematic experience I want people to have. I love all the new characters. It's nice to see Shea Wiggum in here too. And listen, Haley Atwell, I love her being in this too. Like I had so much fun with it. I just feel like I didn't feel this way with Rogue Nation. Didn't feel this way with Fallout. This one feels overlong. It feels like it overextends. It overdoes its welcome, for a bit. And I think Ethan Hunt has some issues with women. And we will talk about that in spoilers.
Absolutely.
Because I am seething with rage right now.
At some of the things that have happened. And
yes.
Devindra, for once in a very long time, I think I am in complete agreement with you about, so can't wait to get to it. Jeff, can hit us up with your thoughts on Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts about Dead Reckoning Part 1 are best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Hit us, Jeff.
Yet again, McQuarrie constructs scenes where Cruz leaps, tumbles, and ducks. It's so entertaining, there's no use explaining. In 5 seconds, this plot self-destructs.
Okay, hold on, Jeff. What was the second line of that limerick?
Scenes where Cruz leaps, tumbles, and ducks?
Leaps, tumbles, and ducks. Okay, got it.
Pretty good.
I didn't know if
actually things. Those are verbs, Dave.
I didn't know if it was like ducks, like DUCTS, but that doesn't make any sense. No. Yeah, got it. Okay, cool.
No ducks in this movie.
Yeah, no ducks in this movie.
None of that either.
Weird you could just pull that out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Jeff.
that's weird, Jeff. Okay, go
Wow.
ahead.
Anyway,
The next villain in Mission Impossible.
I mostly agree, although I think I had more fun than you guys did, perhaps.
I had fun. I had
a blast.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most fun movies of the summer. I had a total blast with it, and also can think that this movie is fraught with problems and has all kinds of. I mean, the MacGuffin in this movie could not be more MacGuffin-y. And I really want to drill down on that during spoilers about how I feel about that.
Yeah,
but
let's do it. Yeah,
it's very MacGuffin-y. Structurally, the movie's weird, and I think this is the first time in the McQuarrie era where my favorite scene or scenes in this film are not the big action set piece scenes. There are a few great action set piece scenes, so don't get me wrong. But there is a scene that takes place in an airport that is just perfectly executed tension and spinning of plates in different areas that I found to be so fun and edge of my seat. And it didn't have anything to do with Tom Cruise almost dying, It
harkens back to the TV show, like when the teams are on big crazy missions. Yeah.
I will also say I loved the score for this movie. I thought the music did so much heavy lifting in this movie, much more so than the recent previous installments. And I loved it. Very, very operatic score, very, very scored movie. It felt almost classical in its use of, like a Hitchcockian, use of music to set the tone and increase the tension. So I loved that.
I would say the scores have always been good, but Lorne Balfe, who scored both Fallout and this film, has taken it up to the next level.
And he did Rogue Nation too, didn't he?
No, he didn't. Joe Kramer did Rogue Nation.
Okay.
This score I loved it. And I loved, I mean, I saw this in IMAX and the sound was enveloping. It was awesome. I was disappointed that there weren't any Fallout style, actual real IMAX moments. But, it's great. I have major issues with how this movie was marketed because I knew very, very little because of how I protect myself. And even the stuff that I knew, I was mad that I knew. Yeah. And coming home, seeing this movie at a press screening very early and coming home and watching some of the marketing after that, I was really upset. I think it will be an actual detriment to how people interact with this movie because there are reveals that happen that are 100% spoiled in the marketing that are genuinely built up as reveals and are very fun in the context of the movie. Some of my favorite moments in this movie are stuff that the movie does that is 100% ruined by the marketing, in my opinion. And even, I definitely knew about the big motorcycle stunt. And I will say, one of the things I've loved before, this has been the pattern in the last few installments where we've seen a lot of like behind the scenes showing Tom Cruise doing it stuff. And I think the one last time was him jumping out of the airplane with the mask on. And the one before that was hanging onto the airplane externally, both of which are the beginnings of those movies.
Right.
The cold opens of those movies, which
the jumping out of the plane is like a quarter of the way in.
Isn't okay.
It's like literally in the first 20 minutes.
First 20 minutes. Yeah, not the first thing. Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make though is that I didn't feel like knowing that was coming ruined anything. Right. Whereas in this movie, the motorcycle jump is literally a surprise to the characters in this movie and is built up to. Is so late in the movie. It's like the big thing we lead up to in the movie, and I wish I didn't know it was coming. Like
Jeff, you were the one sharing that video with me.
I know because I trusted
you chose to watch it.
I trusted it was going to be in line with the way it has been previously, where it's like this is the first thing, and there's a whole movie afterwards. Whereas this time, the movie builds up to it. It is we are swerved. Like there's an entire plan of how something's going to happen, and then we have to divert to this stunt, and it's like, oh, I'm sitting there in the audience going, I can just fall asleep for the next 10 minutes because I know where this is going. We keep seeing Tom Cruise like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's like, I know what you're going to do because all the marketing has shown you. The poster shows me what you're going to do.
This is why you don't watch trailers, Jeff.
Yeah. This is why I don't watch trailers.
Yeah.
And it bothers me. Like, there's a good way to do it, which is the hanging off the end of the airplane thing, which is like literally the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then I have like a whole movie where I get to go, wow, that was an amazing stunt. Now we can settle into this movie. And then there's a bad way to do it, which in my opinion is this way, which is the whole movie leads up to this moment. And I know it's coming a mile away. So anyway, that's my bugaboo. I understand. I have a hang up about that, and it's not everybody's hang up. But I do think that stole something from my experience of watching this movie. That said, I had a blast. I think there's so much. I did not feel, as you guys seem to, that it was overlong or overstuffed. I could have watched another hour of that. Like I just love being in that world. And as big of problems as I think the plot has, so much as there is a plot in this movie, the mechanism of the movie that gets you to each scene, they're largely ignorable in these Mission Impossible movies, just in general. Like, that's not what I'm coming to these movies for, is like, gee, what international crisis are they going to solve this time? Like, I don't care.
Why will the government disavow them again?
That's not really what I care about. But this time it is even more, I think, just throwaway than previously. And I do knock the movie a bit for that. But the scenes themselves, while I don't think all of them are equally as impressive, there's an action sequence in a very narrow area that I just don't think works at all. But for the most part, I had a blast, and I would totally recommend this movie. I think go see it on a big screen, go see it in IMAX, go see it with great sound, and I had a great time. I suspect you'll have a great time too.
I have to ask you this, Jeff, because we may never get this opportunity again. You talk about having that experience robbed from you, right? From watching the motorcycle in this movie. But months ago, you saw Tom Cruise jump off a motorcycle on a cliff. You were texting us about it.
Yeah.
You were excited. You had a sense of joy and anticipation from seeing that early footage. Now, if you were completely unaware of that, that joy would be gone. It would just be moved over to seeing it in the movie.
The joy you experienced prior to now, Jeff.
Yes.
Huh? So anyway,
I think that's a fair point to make, but I don't prioritize that. Like, that joy is not diminished moving that to after I've seen the movie, because that
wouldn't have months to get that anticipation.
But I already am anticipating this movie. Like, I'm anticipating the new Tom Cruise crazy thing. Like, even if I don't know what it is, I know this movie is going to feature something. And if I see it in the context of this movie where I'm like, oh, he's riding around on that motorcycle. What's he going to do on that motorcycle? What's he going to do on that motorcycle? Oh my God. That is way better, because the joy of seeing the explanation of the stunt is not diminished watching it after the movie. The making of stuff is still as impressive as it will ever be after I've seen it in the movie. That's my position.
I feel sympathy for Jeff, that he feels like part of his experience was ruined. At the same time, and also, I would argue that, I mean, my argument would be like, one of the reasons you felt so cheated, Jeff, is because perhaps that moment is not as effective as it could be in the actual
I think it's
film.
really fast in the movie. Like, it's a kind of a throwaway thing.
Right. And I will also just say, for the record, every Mission Impossible trailer has spoiled virtually every single set piece in every Mission Impossible film. It did not build up quite, it wasn't on the poster necessarily as it was on this one, but every Mission Impossible trailer, like in the trailer for Mission Impossible 1, literally the ending shot of the train sequence is spoiled in the trailer. So it's
the
like
aquarium is there.
It has been with us for many, many years. You felt
Doesn't
it
make
more,
it right.
Yeah, you felt it more acutely for this one, and so I have sympathy, but it's, as it has always been, it is thus today. So I will share a few of my quick thoughts. Then I think we have a lot to discuss in spoilers. Okay, I am really ambivalent and torn about this movie, because on the one hand, no one is making action films of the scale and ambition that Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie are doing today, right? I mean, just again, the motorcycle sequence, which is in the trailers and on the poster, there's a 5-minute making of featurette. If you look at what they did to accomplish that one sequence, it's incredible. Like the months of planning it took for just that one stunt. And you really feel like Tom Cruise is willing to put himself on the line. He's willing to learn how to drive cars like a stunt driver. He's willing to learn how to halo jump. He's willing to learn how to be in jets with high G-forces and so on. Like, very few people are willing to put their body and their life and limb on the line in furtherance of the craft than Tom Cruise. Not only that, but Tom Cruise is fighting against the future. This is evident in Top Gun Maverick when he was fighting against the drone program that threatened to take over from manned pilots. It's evident in this movie where I'm not going to really get into it, but suffice to say, thematically,
it's evident in Live, Die, Repeat.
Thematically, what he's battling against in this movie is very much what this movie star is battling against in the new Hollywood system, right?
Yeah.
And so,
see, also Tom Cruise in Minority Report too. Always fighting the future. This man.
That's right.
Really is.
Always.
The action scenes, many of the action scenes in this movie are in fact really great, and you do get the sense, as I've been saying on the podcast recently, someone went to a place and did a thing. Like they actually had people running along on tops of trains. They actually had Tom Cruise jumping off a cliff. They actually drove this car through the streets of wherever. There's a tactility, texture to them that you don't get from things that are all completely CG. And so as a result, it's a lot of fun. I also think a lot of the new cast members are great. Like it's great to see them on screen. Haley Atwell, Shea Wiggum, these are Palm Clementif. These are all really,
she is so much fun.
Charitable, not charitable. These are all really charismatic actors, and it's great to see them on screen and kind of playing off each other. They have great chemistry. But I remember learning about the making of Mission Impossible Fallout and thinking, wow, it's a miracle that they were able to make that thing, because Chris McQuarrie's approach is we're going to build the movie around these big set pieces, right? And so they shot the motorcycle cliff jump on day one of principal photography because they're like, if that doesn't work, we're going to rewrite the rest of the movie. Like that's the
also,
approach.
If Tom Cruise is dead, why even shoot any more of it?
100% true. 100% true. That approach, when it works, it can feel like, oh my gosh, you're watching someone like spinning all these plates and he's barely maintaining it, and it's really exciting, right? And that's what Fallout feels like, is wow, I can't believe he pulled that off, and now he's pulling this off. It's like amazing.
Yeah.
The problem happens when there is a global pandemic and you need to shut down production 5 times, which is what happened to this movie. As a result, it feels extremely disjointed. It feels very episodic, very like, here's a little short story about this. Okay, now we're off to this place. Here's a little short story about this. And then tons of very clunky exposition to get us from one place to the next. I've watched this movie twice now, once in regular format, once in IMAX. I will just let people know, as Jeff indicated, there's no footage shot for IMAX. So if you see it in Dolby, if you see it in a premium format, you're good. You don't need to see it. There's no specific reason to see it in IMAX.
I want to throw a shout out to RPX, which is Regal's thing, which has vibrating seats.
Nice.
So when those explosions happen, you feel it, and I kind of dug that. That was fun.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, so I've seen it twice now, and so I feel like I'm pretty familiar with the film's strengths and weaknesses for me. And like, in my opinion, the first hour of this movie is pretty weak. I did not have the same reaction to Jeff as Jeff to the airport stuff, and the first hour just doesn't work for me. But then once we hit the second hour, from second hour begins all the way to the 2.5 hour conclusion, like that was really strong. But the first hour is so much exposition, so much introducing new characters and what they're doing and why they're here. And I also think that because they've introduced, to my count, at least 5 new speaking roles in this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of the older characters are ill-served. And that is a huge bummer for reasons we'll get into in spoilers. So I'm very, very mixed on this movie. But yeah, State of the End, and Jeff, Devindra, and I, we're going to rank Mission Impossible, our Mission Impossible movies, like what we would rank them at the end of the spoiler section. But we have so much more to discuss. So let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about spoilers for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 starting right now. Let's talk about this scene or this movie in kind of section by section. I think it's worth it. Okay.
Sure.
I think the opening scene of this movie is disastrous.
I hate it.
Really?
So much.
Disastrous.
I hate it.
The submarine stuff?
Yes.
It
goes on too long.
Actively ruins this movie. It ruins the movie.
Wow.
And I don't understand
That is
why
so
McQuarrie
interesting.
does not see that.
Yeah.
That is
It
so
is-
interesting. Yeah. Okay. Make the case against the submarine scene. Go ahead.
This is a movie where all of the players in the film, all of our protagonists, all of the people we care about, the good guys and the bad guys, are all chasing a key. They don't know what it unlocks.
Mm-hmm.
We do. Why? Why is it better that we know for a scene that adds? We know all of the things that all the players in the movie do not, and it does not enhance the experience. It makes it so redundant and boring for them all to be bumping around trying to figure out what this thing does. And this giant question that the movie asks, the first 10 minutes of the movie gives you the answer to no effect, to no greater level of tension. It would be so much more interesting, in my opinion, if we also were wondering, like, this thing is so important. All these people are willing to do all these things for this key, and nobody knows quite what it is. And then at the end of the movie, our cliffhanger is the answer's at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah.
That's your cliffhanger. Why do you give us the answer in the beginning in a scene that is incongruous with anything we come to a Mission Impossible movie for? There's no part of that scene. I'm like, where is my Impossible Mission Force group? Like, I want my cold open that I'm used to from Mission, starting in media res with the Mission Impossible guys doing something. That doesn't really, maybe it has something to do with the rest of the prop, maybe it doesn't, but I'm hopping in like what's Tom doing? And what are the guys doing? This movie does not do that. It throws you into it throws you underwater. And is the scene itself technically, sound in sense that like it creates tension and it has a surprise? Yes. Does it feel like it's from a completely different movie? In my opinion, 100%. And does it then completely undermine the experience of the rest of the film? In my opinion, 100%. And I think that is why I deem it to be disastrous.
I didn't quite feel that, Jeff, like they undermine the rest of the film, but I do think it goes on too long. Again, I don't care about these people. This is a well-constructed thing. Honestly, it's nice to see McQuarrie try something different, right? We've seen the cold open, Tom Cruise hanging off a plane, Fallout had something too, right? I just watched the opening of that again. But it feels nice to try something different. I think it goes on too long.
Fallout had the nuclear plutonium exchange.
So that was
it
good.
was them doing a mission basically. Yeah,
that was like much slower, but I think it was good. But I can't help but think like, it would be nice to start with the team, or at least don't spend so long with these folks, because it does feel like we spend way too long in the submarine scene.
This is one of the kind of challenges that they encountered making this movie. So it may not surprise you, Jeff, to learn that when they finished principal photography, when they finished, like when they had wrapped on the movie, there was no submarine in the movie. And at some point after the fact, they decided, hey, we need to have the submarine scene or else the audience is not going to be attached to what is going on in the key, right? They made that decision. This is according to the Hollywood Reporter. They had finished wrapping and then they decided to add the submarine. So like, now I personally think the sequence is really well executed. I agree with Devindra. Hey, let's try something completely different. Like, so I salute that. But you're right, Jeff. I agree. It does sap some dramatic tension when you, the audience, knows what none of the characters know, right?
Yeah.
There is pleasure in figuring out how the movie is going to then convey that information to them, which is what I experienced. So I actually really liked it. I thought it's just like a really well done sequence, in my opinion. So
it would have been nice as like maybe a short film or something like really fun marketing. Hey, this trailer just starts playing. What's happening here? And then like lead into, this is a preview for Mission Impossible or something.
Or there's a scenario where like we get to the end of the movie and then there's a flashback, right?
That is, I think, the superior way to do it is that the end of the movie, the setup for Dead Reckoning Part 2 is we got to get to the bottom of the sea. There's no moment at this movie where you don't think they're going to have to get to the bottom of it. It's such a bizarre reveal. We reveal literally the answer to all the questions that haven't even been introduced yet.
It almost feels like it should be at the beginning of the next movie.
Yes,
as the going off into the cliffhanger.
Like the end of part 1 is what does the key unlock, and the beginning of the second one is, oh my god, that's what the key unlocks. That's a brilliant idea too, Devindra. I think.
Yeah, I mean, they probably looked at the movie,
Mm-hmm.
saw Sans submarine, and they're like,
Had
know,
a submarine in
they
here.
screened the movie many times, right? And they're like, audiences just aren't connecting with the key unless they know what's going on. So
Mhm.
they made the call, but it's a fair point. All right. So
Yep.
then we get introduced to what the entity is. Oh, well, there's a whole sequence.
By the way,
where
what a terrible name.
Bad name. It's also
Terrible.
the entire plot of Mrs. Davis. It is wild that we have two things that are just about these protagonists fighting all-powerful AI.
I
That's
had
the
that
goal.
same thought. I was like, this is Mrs. Davis. But
And you have like religious devotees taking care of the AI too.
Yeah,
Like, it's a whole thing. Yeah.
But just like calling it the entity, like at
Mhm.
no point, like everybody's on the same page that we're calling it the entity. It's such a dumb name. It's such a dumb name.
I wasn't bothered by it, but we had this. There's a scene in the desert with Ilsa Faust. We get to see Ilsa with an eye patch sniping people. Which is
there. Just start there.
Pretty incredible.
God
But like,
damn.
I have to say, I wasn't like, it's beautiful, but it's like not particularly thrilling scene in my opinion.
Do you know why she has the eye patch? Which I think is hilarious.
I thought it was just to help her look through the.
Rebecca Ferguson can't wink. She cannot close one eye. And then because this was happening while they were like shooting it, and McQuarrie's like, just close your other eye. She can't do it. It was like,
That's
okay,
so
somebody
funny.
get me an eye patch.
Well, she looks
That's how that
completely
happens. She looks
badass.
awesome.
She's an icon, basically, in this.
It's very Metal Gear Solid 3. Yeah.
And then she theoretically dies. Cut to we're at this facility, this national intelligence facility.
Call
Carrie-
it Exposition Station.
They call it exposition station. Carrie Elwes asks like a bunch of very clunky questions, like, "Well, where is it now? Where's the key now? Who has the key now? Where is he going?" But and it's like, oh, this is
I like how the idea behind that scene is it'll sound really lame if one person just says it. So we'll just literally just daisy chain it among 5 people.
Among several comedians, too. Like people I recognize from comedy roles.
Rob
like
Delaney, right?
Rob Delaney?
Yeah.
Soraya Blue? Yeah.
They all rehearsed evidently this presentation. It's like, all right, I'm gonna say a line, you say a line.
And then you say it has the ability to kill everyone, and then you say it leaves no trace behind.
Yeah, okay. Be sure to remember your line because I don't want anybody stepping on anybody.
Yeah, I don't. Do not steal my thunder, guys. This is my big moment. So then they introduce what the entity is, and I actually think it's a really compelling idea. Like, we've all considered what would happen if ChatGPT got loosed upon the internet and was able to change things. And the idea of like people hard copying things down, like I love that as a
I love that scene of them just going through typewriters.
Yeah,
that's
rows
amazing.
and rows of typewriters.
That's amazing. It's like,
cool.
oh, I hope we do something like that if that ever happens to us.
Yeah, nothing bad has ever happened with hard copies of documents.
Yeah, nothing. Totally safe forever. What I like about
that's never gotten into the wrong hands before.
Never. What I like about the idea of the entity, by the way, I do think it's a dumb name, but it's a great concept because it's literally Ethan Hunt has to fight God. Ethan Hunt has to kill and destroy God. Because that's essentially what this is saying. And like, as a guy who's been described as the manifestation,
a living manifestation of destiny,
of destiny, like I think it's all very appropriate. Like, it's so silly, but it fits the silly like wavelength of this series. Yeah.
The idea that he's fighting AI or an algorithm, I think, is very strong thematically for Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't like how the entity's skills and abilities are, in my opinion, very poorly defined. Like,
whatever, it could do whatever.
It can do whatever, but sometimes it can't do things.
It can host parties. It can sing subs.
Host parties.
Go ahead, Jeff. What are you gonna say?
No, I do enjoy. There's the sequences where our team is discussing like we could do that, but maybe it thought we would do that. I mean, it's very, Carrie Elwes is in this. It's very Princess Bride to be like, well, I clearly can't drink the bottle in front of me, right? It's that scene. And then that to me was very fun of it wants us to not do the thing we think we should do because it's already thought that we're going to do. So that's fun. But yeah, I think Mrs. Davis handles this in a much more interesting way.
It reminded me, by the way, of this. There's this episode of Rick and Morty about heist movies, and basically the people who make Rick and Morty like really hate heist movies because at the end of every heist movie, no matter what happens, it's always revealed that it was part of the heister's plan, right?
Yeah,
it's no matter what setbacks. So then they have this thing called like the Heistatron 3000 that basically forces you to do completely random actions, so that like no one can possibly predict what you're going to do, and so therefore it can't have been part of the plan.
But again, I will point out that the joy of that is the audience being behind the players.
True.
And
Right.
we are always ahead of everybody in this movie because we got information that no one else has right at the beginning, which I think ruins it.
Fair enough. Tom Cruise breaks in, has a nice confrontation with Kittredge, whatever, bunch of more exposition.
Tom Cruise breaks in as the weirdest looking man I've ever seen in my life.
That's mean, Devindra. That's a real dude, okay?
It's a real dude. He
That's
has a real base. He has a family. He has people who love him. But you look at that guy. That guy walks into me. I'm like, why aren't you blinking?
I will say,
what is wrong with you?
I will say they have a really cool. He puts on a really cool mask that has like nose clips. It has like clips for your nose, and apparently this gas that only acts for like 10 seconds, so it's very convenient.
It's so rad.
But it's nice to see Henry Zerny back as Kittredge. That's awesome.
It is.
Right?
That's a rad scene. The like that he would break into the place where the biggest badasses are, and literally just to have a conversation and be like, listen, I am better than you in every single way.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's so many scenes from this movie that could have been an email, though, guys. Like, he could have just Ethan Hunt could have just like. There's nothing really about that confrontation that needed to be in person.
Well, it's a demonstration of my ability to own you.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Because Kittredge doesn't know that yet from the first movie. Anyway.
I do wonder why Ethan Hunt is always wondering, why does the U.S. government hate me so much? Why are they always against me, guys? Because you're always clowning them.
I like how like people talk really derogatorily about like, oh, they're always going like Shea Wiggum's like they're always going rogue. Like it always happens all the time. Yeah. So then opening credits, love the opening credits. Like
wait, I want to say one more thing about that scene.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like when he gets on the phone and the guy's like, "Sir, are you under attack?" Yes, that's exactly what's happening. All right, sir. If you are under attack, hang up the phone before I count to 5. It's like this guy just really needs to know, like, sir, are you sure? Speak freely if you are not under attack. I cannot do that. All right, sir. Okay, if you are under attack.
He says, are you allowed to speak freely? And he's like, no. And then he's like, okay, if you want us to send help or whatever, I'll count to 5 and hang up the phone. It was funny.
The conclusion of that scene is funny too. When he just pulls out the mask, it's just a look. There's a lot of like just looks at people in this movie. It's fun. Yeah.
So opening credits, love the opening credits. Jeff Kanata, I am curious, did you watch the opening credits?
I did not. Close my eyes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Closed my eyes.
There was a moment in the opening credits where like the anti-grav train falling that like in the opening credits, everyone in the audience gasped during the opening. They're like, holy crap, like what was that? So amazing.
Closed my eyes. Sorry. Closed my eyes. But I was glad because like that moment that happened in the context of the movie was amazing.
We get to the the airport sequence. And Jeff, you love this scene. I'm happy to hear you talk about it. The first time I watched it, I was really excited because like, oh, there's going to be some really cool shit during this. And then nothing really happens. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the second time I was like, it was more clear to me. But Jeff, why did you love this sequence?
Oh, I thought it was phenomenal. Just the orchestration of it, having different groups in different areas of the plane, the way they dupe the government guys that are chasing them, and then having Simon Pegg, have to look, and the fact that you have Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg not telling Tom Cruise about what they're doing, and he's in his own world, like things are high stakes for him, and Ving Rhames is like trying to help one person and help another person. It just felt so tense and so exciting, and Simon Pegg sells that bomb diffusion scene so well. He is losing his shit, and trying to solve those riddles, and then go into Tom Cruise like, "Hey, Tom, could you solve a quick riddle for us real quick?" I love just all of that.
It's good.
And then the way it's shot is so fun. The way they're hacking into stuff, and the way the way it resolves with like that low shot of Tom Cruise like running in the background, like full sprint. The way they had to time that so the camera comes around just to catch him at full sprint. Just chef's kiss. I loved that whole sequence. All of the stuff with her and the palming of the things, and when he comes up to her and tells her the plan by like using sleight of hand magic to like, is this what you want or is this what you want? Like, I'm awesome too with the
nice callback to the first film.
So good, good. And I just thought that scene is like, oh my gosh, this doesn't have a big stunt. It doesn't even have any action really. We get some running Tom Cruise, which is always fun, but it was just really finely executed thriller filmmaking, tension, suspense. I just thought it was great.
Normally during these movies, I'm like alone cackling in the theater. You know, how silly it all gets and how ridiculous like the stakes get raised. But the entire audience was with me too. It was like when it was revealed, it's like, oh, this is a nuclear bomb. People just started laughing out loud because they're having so much fun with it. Like to me, it reminded me of the TV show from what I remember, and certainly Mission Impossible 1 and 2. Like you don't need the big action. What you need is like good characters and good tension here. Yeah.
I'm glad you guys liked it. For me, I think it's like a little bit confusingly done. You know, I compare this to in the Bourne Ultimatum, Devindra, right? Remember
Yes,
the Waterloo sequence when like Matt Damon is trying to guide Paddy Considine's
Yeah.
character to prevent him from being assassinated? Like
By
that's
a
like
sniper.
a much more
Yeah.
this scene gets so bogged down in the mechanics of it. Like, oh yeah, now you're going after this guy who has the key, but now she has the key. And by the way, the key is a decoy. And also there's this other guy there. But then she gets away, and it's like, and there's this other bomb, and it just feels like it feels like there's too much going on that's not particularly interesting for it to be thrilling for me. That was me on the second watch of this one. But I'm glad you guys liked it so much. And I just felt a little bit let down. That said, always can go for a Tom Cruise running on top of a beautiful structure. You know, like
That's it.
as long as it has that, how could you go wrong? And there is a spectacular shot of him running on top of the airport that is in the scene.
It's a really funny sequence too. Like that really introduces us to Shea Wiggum and his team too. And they're like, okay, we're gonna go here.
Yeah.
Wrong guy. And like he's very good at getting frustrated, I think, in an entertaining way. So like it all just like works together. Yeah.
That's true. So then Grace escapes, but then she's intercepted at the location that she's arrived at, and then there's this big kind of car chase sequence.
Also great. This
was awesome. Like
so good.
There's so many like interesting dynamics of like they're handcuffed together, and there's
wrong side of the driver's seat is on the wrong side to the handcuffed. So smart.
They need to switch vehicles, and
again, so the way this starts is completely ruined by the trailers, because for me, the experience I had was they walk into the parking lot, they see the badass cars, and then the goofy car comes out. And I was overjoyed. I had no idea there was going to be a goofy car in the scene.
That's true. That was halfway through the whole sequence, so that's not even the beginning.
You can endure me bringing it up more than once, Dave. You don't have to sigh exasperatedly. I'm saying it was an important moment. It's a moment I loved. I was like, oh, they're going to get in the little car. And then they get in the little car. It's hard for me not to compare that scene to the scene in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I don't want to have spoilers
or the Bourne Identity. You know, it's a thing.
Well, a little different than the Bourne Identity. I guess it's similar. But having just seen Dial of Destiny, and I don't want to spoil anything from Dial of Destiny, I can't help but think of how much more fun, how better executed, how much more exciting, and I'm like in like the scene in Dial of Destiny when they're in the tiny car is not bad. It's fun.
Not a fast
I had fun
chase
in that
scene.
moment.
Like that thing is not moving fast. Yeah.
So much more fun. There are so many more fun beats. There, like the interaction of the two characters in the car itself is so fun. Like it's all just so much better executed. And I think it brought that out in stark contrast, having just seen a very similar in tone sequence.
I think a lot of that has to do with the filmmaking choices, the camera angles they chose, the camera movements they chose. Like, for instance, I'll just give an example. Like, there's a moment in the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning car chase where like the car is like tumbling down, and there's a camera inside the car, and it feels like like Tom Cruise is like tumbling around inside the, you know, it's like you feel like somebody was actually in a thing and they rolled around, and you know it does.
Such a great gag in that moment too, that the tumbling switches their places in the car.
Yeah, amazing.
It's so amazing. Yeah.
It's very Tintin almost. Like it's full cartoon at a certain point. Go ahead, Dave. There's stuff I want to say here.
Well, side note, guys, I'm just gonna put this out there. Like, it does kind of feel to me like a lot of these movies are just remixing each other this summer. Okay, so minor spoilers for, or big spoilers for Fast 10. Minor spoilers for like John Wick, minor spoilers for Indiana Jones. Okay, but like Fast 10 also ended on a cliffhanger with a major piece of infrastructure being destroyed by bombs.
in Rome.
Fast 10 also had a vehicle chase sequence on the Spanish Steps in literally the exact same location as Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones had a train sequence with people like running on top of the train. Also, so I just feel like, wow, it feels like we're just remixing kind of similar ingredients. But that said, I feel like Dead Reckoning does it in with such flair, and so much verve that I loved the entire car chase scene. Like
you could really see
fan.
the differences in the franchises and the people who make these things too. Like by seeing some of these things repeated, there's clearly a joke. There's a joke going on where Christopher McQuarrie is like, his job is to put Tom Cruise in smaller and smaller cars. And there was also a small BMW in Fallout, and they're like, who picked the smallest car? It was like a 1985 BMW. It was super fast, but it was really tight. And this is a souped up Fiat, which they said reaches over 500 horsepower. So that thing just like rockets. It sounds like it's electric or something, but it just like it moves fast because they built it to actually move fast. And he's driving the thing. He's doing it all while handcuffed too. Yeah.
It's really funny, that scene where like they reach the bottom of the steps and then like they're just like spinning around. Like it has everything. It has like moments for laughter and to pause and take a break and awkwardness and poignancy. It's just a really well done sequence.
I feel like this movie overall embraced comedy more than the last few have. I mean, there's always little moments of levity with the team. Simon Pegg's sort of there for that. But I felt like that entire sequence, like Devindra pointed out, is like Tintin or like a cartoon. It's very Looney Tunes. It's very goofy, but in the best possible way. And I was delighted to see the movie not take itself seriously in that moment. I thought it was very fun.
Yeah. I was worried though that like, I guess the defining characteristic of Grace, as we know her at that point, is that she's a very good thief. She's a very bad driver, and it is kind of hammered several times. Like, oh, she keeps needing Tom Cruise to do the driving. I just feel like that was redundant. We could have made that point once. But yeah, still a fun chase. Still an incredible chase, man. Also, Pom Clemente in that scene, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's. I want to talk about Haley Atwell and that whole scene. Yeah. But let's get to the next scene, and I think we'll be able to dive into it. Right. So, so then there's this whole. They finish the sequence. Haley Atwell gets away. Rebecca Ferguson shows up. It's like, oh, she's in the car. Okay, great, whatever. And then they kind of have a meeting where they figure out like what their next steps are, and they go to this big party, right? This big nightclub, this big
AI party, baby.
Ain't no party like an AI party. Because an AI party is based on a lot of data that they've pulled from a lot of different sources.
It don't stop, never stop, never has to breathe or sleep. Yeah.
So they go to this party, and the idea is that Haley Atwell's character is going to deliver her half of the key to the White Widow, who I believe had the other half this whole time, is my understanding, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this key does not, I don't know. I mean, kudos to the prop department. It's a fun MacGuffin.
It's a 4D
does not look
key.
like a difficult key to replicate.
I felt exactly the same. I was like, couldn't you just cut a new one of those? But
you guys replicate human faces.
They said early on, Tom Cruise puts on these AR glasses, and he's like, these will focus on the dragon eggs in the key, and so it's like maybe there's some kind of irreplicable component in the key, right? So yeah.
Don't think about it too much, I guess, is the answer.
So there's a big chase sequence that occurs, and like here is where I think a lot of the movie's problems start to really come. This whole next 20 minutes is where the problems really come into focus for me.
Yeah.
Esai Morales shows up, great actor. He's kind of representing the interests of the entity, right? And I understand why that character is necessary, because
you can't fight a disembodied robot.
It's like fighting Sauron. Like you need someone to represent the entity.
Yes.
And also, but it's like, hey, if it was just a guy who was into the entity, that's not evil enough, right? Like, because why would that person like killing people? Unless you have a backstory where he likes killing people. So that's what they gave him. They're like, oh, he loves death and he loves sharing death with people. It's like, oh, okay. So that's why that's the function of the Esai Morales character, right?
Yeah.
He shows up for no reason, just for vibes. Like he's like, I'm not even here for the key. I'm just here to say things to you. Like that's all I'm here for.
It's his party. It's his party. He can go.
They have this very long, ponderous sequence. Esai Morales' character Gabriel then says to everyone, like, "All right, well, for the entity to get what it wants, one of these women's gonna have to die."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is written.
It is.
to
It
you.
is written. It will be placed
Yeah.
at my feet, which is I think an Anton Chigurh reference because that's something that Anton Chigurh
Mm.
says in No Country for
Mhm.
Old Men as well. And then this big chase scene ensues.
Well, before
yeah,
that, like I thought that again, the staging of that, we have all our players all facing off with each other.
Yeah.
The way we're all, tense looking at each other. Who's gonna? It's a, I don't know if this is appropriate to say anymore, but a Mexican standoff. It's
Yeah,
that,
you can still
that,
say, yeah.
that kind of feeling, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And there's that line Tom Cruise says, he's like, "Don't move," and I was like, she does not listen to that at all. And yet there are no consequences. He's like, "Don't move." And she's like, "Okay, cool, I'm moving." It's like what it's a very
Yeah.
The scene is awesome on a certain level, but on another level, like it kind of isn't anything. Because
I feel like
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree,
yeah.
yeah.
They didn't hone in on the Grace character enough, I'd say. And to the Isai Morales thing, the immediate introduction is he was the guy who basically got you into the IMF because of what he did. All he did was kill a woman that Tom Cruise knew. I'm like, oh, so okay. New woman enters the ring and she's immediately dead. She exists in this universe only to be the person who died before we ever knew about any of this, and that was annoying.
That
It
was
gets
that
more
was a
annoying.
shocking decision because
Yes.
the
yes.
the series has so much history to draw upon.
I was going to say that same thing.
Like,
There's no
why introduce it?
shortage of dead women.
There's no shortage, but it's like,
Oh, man.
like why do you need to? Why do you need to kill a new brunette character when there's so
Yes.
many other brunettes,
so many other brunettes.
that we already know that you could have killed?
I
wouldn't-
right?
honestly
yeah.
had the thought, like, am I just not remembering this scene?
No.
A lot of people had that question, Jeff, but no,
Yeah.
it's like I don't. They introduce an entirely new character. Also,
I almost imagine. I just want to say while we're here, I wonder if they reached out to some people. I wonder if they're like,
Right.
hey, Tandy Newton,
Yeah.
Tandy
what's
Way
up?
Newton,
Do you want to
Tandy Way
die
Newton
in 30
or
seconds?
Paula
Yeah.
Patton, or any
I
of
think
the other. Yeah,
It would have been Tandy Wee Newton. Like
Yeah.
that to me, that would have been, oh, that would be the deep cut. But even she would not. So I'm here to die in 10 seconds.
Let me
Well,
give you a
thank you.
better
what,
option.
What Tandy
What
Way
if-
Newton should have been was the thief, because that's what she
Yes,
was.
that's
in
what
Mission
she
that would have been
Impossible 2.
sick. That would have been
Instead
sick.
of Haley
But-
Atwell. Yeah, but go ahead, Jeff.
But Tom Cruise doesn't hang out with women her age. The the better pull would have been flashback to murdering Emilio Estevez.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
If this were Fast and Furious, that's what they would do. Absolutely. Yeah.
So then there's this big fight, and this is when. So the idea is that one of these women need to die.
Yeah.
Haley Atwell shows up first, and then so Isai Morales is like, "Oh, great, I'll get to kill Haley Atwell." But then, right as he's about to deliver the killing blow, Ilsa shows up with a freaking sword.
Sure. Great.
Now,
yeah.
Ilsa
As one
Faust
does.
is
Yeah.
one of the most badass characters ever created for the
Mhm.
big screen, and you cannot convince me that she would not beat Isai Morales with a big sword. Like in a fight between Isai Morales
Yeah.
with two dinky knives and Ilsa Faust with a big sword, Ilsa Faust would not lose, in my opinion.
Yep.
She is killed in that moment. And the movie seems to remove any doubt that she's like, I watched the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like,
She was already fake killed once.
right,
Yeah.
she's already fake killed once. And then a lot of
Yeah.
people were like, well, they can't have just killed her off like that. That's impossible.
Yeah.
But I watched it, and
Well, they do impossible things in these movies.
there is
They
a
do.
freaking knife with a handle sticking out for like a full minute, and she's not blinking. So
Yeah.
it would take a lot to convince me that she was she
Well,
had somehow survived that.
she
There
didn't
are-
say anything.
there are
They could have
masks
face
that-
masked somebody
Yeah,
else.
they
They could have
could've
face
yeah.
masked somebody else and dropped her in there. And
Just like in
oof.
MI3, that's true. They could
Yes,
have done that.
the entity is devious. It could do anything.
I also want to.
Yeah.
I also want to say, like, I think in their effort to come up with things we've never seen before, the let's do a fight scene in the tightest possible confines was not a great idea.
It's.
I didn't think it was
felt
good.
It's an interesting swing, I thought.
I appreciate
thought-
the
yeah.
effort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think conceptually it's interesting. In execution, I don't think that worked at all. I didn't think it was exciting. I
Yeah.
didn't think it was well shot. I didn't understand the choreography in a clear
Yeah.
way. I just didn't.
It's fair.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
It's a little
I-
too tight. When we talk about these things, there is a great one in Unleashed, the Jet Li movie, directed by Louis Leterrier, which is just in a toilet stall, and it's like camera straight down, and you see everything that's happening. So
Well,
I
isn't there
appreciate
one?
it when people try. Yeah.
I can't remember the movie. There's another movie where they're like sliding down the. They keep sliding down.
Yeah,
these.
it was that movie. I sent it to you. It's the Asian movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that called?
The
It was so
Hitman.
that
The
was
Hitman that couldn't
amazing.
kill, or something like that. It was
Hitman that
yeah.
couldn't kill.
I think it was that. It was the Fable, the killer who doesn't kill. That was
Yes, the killer who doesn't kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
that was cool.
That was cool.
It's not impossible to do, is what my point is. Like, I just don't think they did it well.
I felt the same way as you, Jeff. Like when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this isn't quite working for me." And the second time, I more admired that they even attempted it. You know?
Yeah.
So, but I'm very mixed on that scene. Okay. Anyway, Ilsa dies. Tom Cruise mourns her for like 8 seconds, but this is where the problems of the movie really start to come into focus. Like Roxana Haddadi wrote a great piece about how Mission Impossible is basically Highlander for brunettes.
There can be only one.
There can only be one.
Yeah.
If we're introducing a new brunette, we got to cycle the old one out of there. Now, here's the thing: I cannot imagine that this is what they envisioned for the Ilsa Faust character when they started doing this movie. Rebecca Ferguson is extremely busy. She's off shooting Dune 2, and she's off being the star of Silo, the Apple TV Plus original series. So they probably were like, "Oh, well, we can't have Ilsa Faust anymore, but it doesn't make sense that she would not be in the mission, so we just have to kill her off," right? That's probably what happened. But it does feel like a really ignominious end for a really beloved character. Devindra, do you agree?
I had to restrain myself from shouting no in the theater because, like, I
Darth
think
Vader, no,
there is still room because he did not mourn her for very long. And as we know, AIs can be very devious. Maybe there is room for her to be a face transplant type of thing. Like this is Mission Impossible. They could totally explain that away. And I think that would be baller if they managed to do that. But also, I would like to see some of the other women too, because all these movies have really been defined by, especially post, not so much the first one, right? There was a sex scene in the first one, but like Mission Impossible 2 with the Tandy Newton character, like that was like a romance. Mission Impossible 3, he was fully domesticated. 4, no romance. It's Paula Patton. But then we get Ilsa Faust. And to me, like, it just feels kind of boring because basically this movie fridged one woman already. And to do that to Ilsa Faust, who we all love already, it seems like the most boring way to deal with that character. So that immediately, like, that's one big knock on this movie for me.
Absolutely. Agree completely. So anyway, then it's time to get to the final train sequence, right? So they come up with this plan of, hey, you're going to sell the key. You're going to replace the White Widow, sell the key to the buyer, and then we will then be able to figure out what the key unlocks, right? That's the plan. And I like that Chris McQuarrie did a nod to himself by like showing what getting on the train might look like, and then before saying like, "Oh no, we're not going to do that." I continue to be delighted by the mask. Like whenever anyone pulls off a mask in this series, I'm always a huge fan of it. I'm very excited by it.
How
Go ahead, Jeff.
it.
What were you gonna say?
I also love the line where she says, "I'm gonna need some more details," which again ruined in the trailer. But she says, "I'm gonna need some more details," and Simon Pegg goes, "They just get in the way," which I feel like the ethos for the filmmaking,
the mantra.
Yes,
absolutely.
I mean, Fallout has a line like that too. Like, "Are you new here?" I think Ilsa says to somebody in Fallout or something. Yeah.
Now I have to say, this whole train sequence I thought was overall very, very strong.
Incredible. So good.
But the best part, in my opinion, is Vanessa Kirby playing Haley Atwell playing Vanessa Kirby, which I thought was completely believable. You completely believe that is Haley Atwell wearing a Vanessa Kirby mask. Yeah. Even though it's just Vanessa Kirby. That's all it is, right?
They didn't change the eye color, I believe. Yes, I think that was like one thing.
That's so good. She does a fantastic job pulling that off in very subtle ways. And it's great. I mean, the audience does a lot of the heavy lifting in our minds, but it's, she does a great job.
You don't question it. You're not like, is that, oh, that's just Vanessa Kirby. You're like, in my mind, I'm like, that I'm watching Haley Atwell play Vanessa Kirby. That's the whole thing I'm watching, right?
They do it practical effects. You know?
That's all in camera.
I think we should pause to talk about the Haley Atwell character a little bit.
Sure.
So a lot of people have objected to like when Gabriel says, well, you got to choose between Ilsa Faust or Grace. And Ethan Hunt doesn't like making choices. So he's like, I'm going to save them both. And he doesn't make a choice. But really, he should have just chosen Ilsa Faust, right? Like
the one you have all this background history with. Yeah.
Ilsa Faust is introduced in Rogue Nation, saving Tom Cruise's life.
Yes.
That is the
Right.
first action that character does, right?
Mhm.
Grace in this movie continuously tries to betray and escape from Ethan Hunt. Like that is
She
all
does
she
nothing to help. Yeah.
Yes, but we have the thrust of what we are told about Ethan Hunt in this particular movie is I care more about your life than my own. Like
Mhm.
that's his
Mhm.
raison d'etre, right? Is that
Yeah.
he exists to put himself on the line for your benefit, which again, metatextual. But I think that's the point is like there's no universe where Ethan Hunt, like if you say kill her or kill her, he says no, kill me. Like that's his I
Right.
will die
Yeah.
so that both everyone else can live.
They do give Haley Atwell this little arc of like, oh, I'm going to try to join the IMF because my life will suck without it.
Mhm.
I do wish we'd gotten more understanding of who this character was before like she
Yeah.
had to make this big because it doesn't mean as much if you don't know
Yeah.
I mean,
she was,
the,
right?
the lesson, as we all know, is always #family. Like it is, you got to have a team. You cannot go
Mhm.
through life as a lone wolf thief because you're gonna get caught. You're gonna get killed.
Yeah.
You need a team. Everybody needs a team. Everybody
Yeah.
needs a family.
By the way, Ving Rhames just like removes himself from the movie right before we get on the train. He's like, I gotta go hack this thing in an air gap
it's
location.
gonna be a lot. I gotta
It's
be
gonna be a
somewhere.
lot.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
They my wild
Mhm.
speculation. They filmed all the train
Yes.
stuff first, and then Ving Rhames wasn't in it.
Yep.
And so they're like, "Oh, we got to find a way to take Ving Rhames out of the movie before that."
I'm really
happens,
gonna
so.
fight this AI, man. I
Yeah,
just gotta go
I gotta
go
closet
fight
and like
on
fight
my
this
own,
AI. I do love that Ving Rhames keeps up his thing of just like I am not moving. I am at the desk. I am always sitting, and it's fantastic.
There are
I love
very
it.
few scenes where
Yeah.
Ving Rhames is standing in this movie,
Yes,
and good
yes.
for him. Good
Good
for
for
him.
him. Yeah.
After Ghost Protocol too, which they basically just gave him like an offhand cameo at the end of Ghost Protocol. Remember, he was pissed about that. Fans were pissed about that. So
Yeah.
have him be in and sit as long as he wants. Yeah.
I did think it was cool. I mean, this is going back a little bit, but during that chase scene in Venice, the AI, the entity, which I hate calling it, pretend hacks into their audio and gives him the wrong directions.
Yeah.
Which I thought was was really cool, but also just do that at the beginning and game over, right? Like that's
right. Exactly. It's like that was kind of a bummer because on the one hand, it's like, oh, as we have demonstrated here on the podcast, you can clone people's voices. It's trivial to clone people's voices,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, why isn't it doing this all the time to just mess everyone
one
up?
time
Right? Like,
that kills them all, and that's you're done and done.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be revealed the AI is a very big Ethan Hunt fan and
Yeah.
just like keeps inventing scenarios. Like he's a rat in a cage, and he's like, "Okay, you gotta take a motorcycle off a mountain for this one. Can you do it, Ethan? Can you do it?"
It's like if we're gonna send a Terminator back in time, do we need to make him so conspicuous?
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
Does he need to be this huge guy? Couldn't it be like a child or something? Right? Or maybe someone that it's not even something that you see.
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whatever. Okay, but this train sequence is like a multi-part sequence where there's
so
like
good. I mean, I liked it. I liked it when I saw it in the Uncharted video game series, but it's also
Nice.
great here.
Nice, yeah. There's a bunch of great moments. I love like Palm Clementif jumping onto the train from the bridge.
Yeah.
She unlocks a cargo container that has Isai Morales in it.
Yeah.
It's
In
like
an oxygen tank or like
well, no,
he's
not only that.
yeah.
It's not only
Yeah.
oxygen, but there's like a little VR mask with entity branding on it. Like,
Love it.
what do you think, Jeff? What do you think? What do you think he's doing in that VR?
I think you
experience?
load up your favorite podcasts, some episodes of the
Yeah.
Seinfeld. You know, you just get
He's
yourself
watching
through.
himself
Do you think-
in a Mission Impossible movie. That's what's happening. He is
Do you-
Ethan Hunt.
Do you think the entity has a podcast? Like that's how he gets his
Definitely.
orders.
Oh
The
yeah.
entity has a podcast, and he's like, that's
It's-
how he's
yeah.
The
conveying
entity's
orders.
podcast is called the Joe Rogan Experience.
I'm convinced like also that Jason Bateman show or whatever, like all these shows that are inexplicably popular, that's not real. That's just AI trying to warp brains all over the place.
So a few big moments, right? But the biggest one is Tom Cruise needs to intercept the train.
Mhm.
He rides off the cliff, and I've seen like when I've watched this movie twice now, and both times it's like a magical experience in the theater.
Yeah, people
Because
clap.
People are like in awe of it. But I've also seen some chatter online that I'm very sympathetic with. That it's like, as you said, Jeff, the whole movie is like building up to this moment. And you just compare it to other sort of set pieces for Mission Impossible movies. I'll just throw out two, just random ones. Okay, like Mission Impossible 1, the breaking into the CIA room, that's like a multi-step thing of which there are many amazing moments. I guess that's true of the train sequence as well, right?
Yeah.
But like it just feels like you're pinning all this, or Fallout, Tom Cruise like dancing in the helicopters like towards the end of the movie. There's like he climbs up, he falls down, it's like the helicopter crashes, all this stuff. And it just feels like to build up to this one big moment, it's over in like 8 seconds. You
It's
know?
really
Like,
fast.
It's really fast. And then I think like a lot of people are like a little bit underwhelmed by it. But Jeff, like, you know, I know you had the moment spoiled for your trailer, but I guess like as a moment of pure spectacle, what was it like in the theater when you experienced it?
I'm definitely in the camp of it is not as impressive as it actually is. Like the movie does not make that moment as impressive as the behind the scenes featurette does. The behind the scenes featurette is truly
mind-blowing,
thrilling.
right?
Yes. That moment is it passes by in a blink, and there's so much better stuff all around it. I mean, they try to do, I think there's a moment where we see him actually falling and like delivering a line, you know, in the air, which is pretty amazing. Like, because you clearly like, he did this a bunch of times. One of the times he delivered a line for the movie while doing this stunt, which is pretty wild. That was the coolest thing. I honestly, the like going over the edge and following him and having him fall, it was cool. I'm you know, I don't want to diminish it, but I don't think it plays in the context of the movie as impactful as it actually
I can imagine the way to make it have the impact is to not cut that shot and follow him to the top of the train.
Yeah,
but you can't do that.
You can't
like,
do
that's
that.
impossible.
He didn't actually do that.
He didn't actually do.
I mean, it's actually awesome in the way in the movie we're in the train and he just pops through the window. That's pretty
cool.
great.
Yeah, that's cool. But you know, we have to be honest about our reaction to it, which is like, hey, watching this featurette is like incredible what they did. And then in the movie itself, it was a cool moment, and then it's over. And I agree with you. Some of the stuff in the train that happens afterwards is actually more impressive, you know, in my opinion.
The other
it's also all real, like the falling train and him climbing up and them hanging. Like that's real.
They didn't actually hang off a train off the edge, but he actually did similar action.
All the train stuff is fantastic. It's so much fun. But also, I have to admit, my experience of watching the lead up to the jump and the jump was like, in the featurette, I saw this giant ramp that they built. Is he going to like take a moment to like build an erector set ramp? And then there, I'm like, oh, they CG'd it into a rock.
They CG'd it. Yeah.
So that's the experience I'm having in the movie is like, oh, it's a CG rock that they're having it. Like none of that had to be in my mental equation, but for the marketing of this movie. So
I mean, on the flip side, I'd say, man, look at the amount of work that went into a 10-second long sequence.
Yeah,
you know, and I can't think of too many other franchises where that amount of work and effort is being done on things. So you know,
it is incredible.
It worked better. Yeah,
and to its credit, the movie builds up to it, but it doesn't hang the entire sequence. Like that's not the only impressive thing that happens.
This is not the Burj Khalifa.
If that was the only thing that happened at the end, then it'd be like, okay, maybe. Yeah, you know, it would be more. But then they still deliver on a bunch of other action after the fact, right? So
I just have to say, in my mind palace, guys, like imagine if he did that jump and we were able to at least capture a shot of him landing on top of the plane, or on top of the train.
I mean, that would be amazing, but also very hard to
very hard to do. Impossible, you say?
Yes.
I mean, I would like to express my mind palace one more time, which is like, can you imagine if you didn't know that was coming? And he's on this motorcycle. You see how it's supposed to happen, and you think in the movie he's going to jump a motorcycle on a train, which is cool. That is cool. And you think, oh, we're about to see Tom Cruise jump on a train, and then he misses the train, and you go, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen next. And he keeps going up the hill, and Simon Pegg's like, you got to keep going higher. And he gets to the edge, and he goes, what am I going to do? And you, as the audience member, do not know what he's going to do.
I will present an alternative, though, Jeff. For somebody to be wowed by that spectacle, they got to be in the seat. They have to actually go to the theater.
I get that.
This movie. And the idea that we are so precious about a lot of these things, that's not true in a lot of other countries. Like in a lot of Bollywood films, like the songs and the dance sequences and so many major things are out there before, but you go to the movie because I want to see how this all fits together. You know,
That's just not my equation. And it's fine that it is for some people. I would posit, though, if you're hanging your argument on the idea that nobody goes to see the Mission Impossible movie unless you know exactly what Tom Cruise is going to do in it, I reject that. I don't think that's true. You may lose some people, but
you got to sell the spectacle sometimes.
I think knowing that at this point we've got 7 of these, I think there are certain movies and franchises that don't need to reveal. Like, ask Miyazaki right now. Like that the new Miyazaki movie is coming out with no marketing, and they're like, it's a
one
Miyazaki
of the greatest
movie.
artists
Come see it
of all
because it's Miyazaki.
Time. Yes, one of the greatest artists of all time who releases movies very infrequently can do that. This series, we've played the box office game for so long. This series has never cracked 300, right? It's never gone as high as I think it fully deserves. So I don't know if they keep trying to get more people to see it. To me, I think that is the goal. I want people to enjoy this thing, I
guess, but I don't think it's borne out that this method of getting people to see it is working. Like I mean, based on, we don't know the end of the day money, but it doesn't look like it.
I mean, people were prepared to clap. Like in my theater, I heard it's like, oh, it's coming. I hear the anticipation. I hear people like getting excited, and then when it happens, eruption of applause behind me. And that is, you are prepared to do that, but maybe you do that too if it just happened out of nowhere.
Erupting in applause if I didn't know it was coming. But that's just you and I differ with that.
You wouldn't know how real it was.
I appreciate that you both are representing very different sides of this question. I don't want to get drawn into a debate about this, but Jeff, I disagree with everything you're saying.
I don't want to be in a debate. I
fundamentally disagree with your view.
Well, I'm not shutting you down. You spent 10x as long as I've talked about this. So I'm just saying for the record, I'm not saying moving on is I agree with you.
It is clear. So, that is clear. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's fine to have a difference of opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we get to Haley Atwell decides when she's getting the money transferred to her, she's like, you know what? Maybe I'm not, because I think she decides I'm not going to give Kittredge the key. I need to take the key because I don't feel safe in this situation.
Yeah.
So and therefore
take the money and the key.
Yeah, but she's like, no, I don't want people hunting after me, but they're going to hunt after her anyway. Big action scenes occur. They disconnect the train from the rest of the train.
Real quick, right there.
Go ahead.
Why is Carrie Elwes on the train? I don't understand why he's there.
That was an open question.
I don't understand why any of those dudes are there.
This is true.
There was an open question of does Carrie Elwes know that Kittredge is, or does Kittredge know that Carrie Elwes is there? That's the question.
I don't think so.
Because Carrie Elwes knows that Kittredge is there. He's like, the deal is happening right now.
Because he is the head of intelligence. So he is the big boss. Yeah.
Why does Kittredge even need to be there? He doesn't. Right?
Because he had scheduled a buy with the White Widow. So it's like
he is actually integral to the plot. Carrie Elwes is not. He just shows up to die.
Also, if you guys are in that situation where you have to, at the spur of the moment, pretend to be someone else, and then you're going to betray the people and try to get the money, can you recall your bank information on the fly like that? Because I'd be like, give me a second. I gotta look at my phone.
I did think about this, Jeff. I can recall my bank account because I've had it since I was 18. The routing information. That is the one where I was like, I don't have that down. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Palm Clementive's character. I really loved the character. I think it works really well. I love that she kind of takes out those guys completely unarmed.
She is very gleeful in her madness. And
she has a sadism to her, but it does make her transformation at the end a little bit unbelievable to me. She basically the whole movie, she's the Joker pretty much. She's I am killing people and I'm enjoying doing it. That's her the whole movie. And then at the last minute, because Tom Cruise didn't cave her head in with a pipe, she's like, I'm gonna save your life and tell you where what the key unlocks, right? What'd you think of that transformation, guys? Did that land for you guys? What do you think?
I mean, it's that is Ethan Hunt's superpower, right? to I'm going to spare your life, and just through the sheer goodwill that he contains, he can change people's moral compass. So that worked.
Fair enough
to me.
Devindra.
That works.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Of the things that stood out as plot weirdness, that wasn't one of them for me.
Fair enough. But yeah, there is this whole sequence when the train is unhooked, the cars start going downhill. Oh, so I wanted to make this comment, Devindra, about and Jeff too, which is their whole approach has been to combine actual real life stunts with a bunch of CG, right?
Sure, you got it.
To varying degrees of success, right? So in the case of Dead Reckoning, they disguise the ramp that Tom Cruise drives off of. In Fallout, when he jumps off the plane, CG'd the entire ground. Like it's a different.
The
I think they did
clouds
it
and
during the
stuff.
daytime,
Yeah.
if I recall
Yeah.
correctly. And so they've done a lot of like CG combinations with real life, and it's debatable how successful it is, but they always try to show you something real. So for instance, the train goes off the rails and crashes into the ground. And if you look at the making of it, they actually attached a camera to the side of a real life train and drove it off of a cliff. And you
Yeah.
see some of those shots in the movie. Now they replaced all the backgrounds and everything and made that all different. But I do appreciate that they're trying to do a lot of stuff in camera, like Christopher Nolan style,
Yeah.
where they're like, hey, we're trying to shoot in camera. So
To me, that seems fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they have this thing where like they're moving from train car to train car. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, is that the one, right?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah. But I was just impressed that there was something of this ambition so late in the movie. Like I thought the movie had already climaxed, we peaked,
100%.
and then you know, through the freaking kitchen car with the hot oil and everything.
And the fact that sequence keeps going and going and going, and you know, they have to go through multiple cars, and multiple cars are falling, and there's that wonderful moment where everything is topsy-turvy and we're still inside the car with them, and you have to jump from one like little rail, which would be vertical in right side up, but now works as a ground. Like I loved all of that stuff.
The piano
good.
like hanging on by a little clip.
So good.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And then Palm Clementif shows up and saves everyone's life before they die. Right. So I
think it was good. I was more annoyed. Like that's another character, young Asian girl, has very few speaking lines, and at one point is wearing a schoolgirl outfit while she's using it. It's like you're getting all the tropes in there, buddy. So at least
to be fair though, I don't think they killed her. So that to the film's credit, because at the end of the movie, one of the guys is like, "Oh, I'm getting a pulse." Yeah. So I think
they'll bring her back for another movie where she doesn't speak much. Yeah,
I think she's still alive. And Grace asks Kittredge to join the IMF at the very end of the movie. So
there is that. I do want to talk quickly about the names Grace and Gabriel, which I do feel like. Again, guys, I get what you're doing with all these like religious themes around the AI. I think Isai Morales' performance as like a fanatic, like he's a true believer in a way, and to me that is scarier than scarier than most Mission Impossible villains. Maybe not the last one, not the Rogue Nation guy and Fallout guy. Like he is just like an amoral, super villain. But this a devout person who has crazy beliefs is terrifying to me personally. Yeah.
I have a question about that last Kittredge asking to join the IMF moment. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because I may have gotten the wrong impression. Because at that point, it's all just... I felt like Kittredge was not on the up and up at the end. I felt like he was kind of being a bad guy at the end.
I think we are just supposed to assume that Kittredge is working on behalf of the U.S. government.
Yes.
That's kind of what... But that in itself is bad, because the U.S. government having that power would be bad. That's kind of my.
But like even the idea of her asking him to be part of the IMF at that point, it's like you don't want to associate with this guy anymore, right? Like Tom Cruise and the team, they're not going to be. They don't care what Kittredge says about the IMF, right?
That's a little weird. And also, she just finished deceiving him for like a good 10 minutes. In Vanessa Kirby's face mask. So. It's a little bit of an odd moment. It feels a little bit forced to land the thematic point that they're trying to land, which is like she wants to be a part of #family. So I would agree with you there, Jeff. Yeah. So that's the movie, and apparently Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt needs to go find this submarine at the bottom of the sea next movie.
Yeah, which I guess is going to be an impossible mission. I will say there is one glaring omission in this movie that we have defined in our previous rewatch of this entire series as being essential to these movies. And the only explanation I can give for it not being in the movie is that this is part 1 of 2. And that is, there's no standing at the chalkboard telling you how impossible this mission's going to be moment. There's no like, well, first we have to do this, and then we have to do that, and how are we going to do that? And then there's no way we could do that because they've got the security system with this. Doesn't happen in this movie. And I can only assume that will happen when we decide we need to go to the bottom of the ocean and get the thing out of the thing. There's going to be like,
I feel like
it'll be
the whole thing.
The pressure will kill us, and the nuclear leaking will kill us, and all the other things will kill us.
The intro to Haley Atwell's character before the train stuff for me was that scene of them being like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And she's like, it's not visually put out there, but that is them explaining the whole thing. My new annoyance with Dead Reckoning Part 2 is that we learned in the first 5 minutes that sub was floating by Dead Reckoning. Could not see where it's going. What is the relevance of that phrase in the second movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What, we have to go down and find the sub that was navigating by Dead Reckoning.
By Dead Reckoning.
Part 2.
But we cannot use Dead Reckoning. We need to know where it is.
It's because, Devindra, that's how Ethan Hunt moves.
It's true.
He moves by Dead
without
Reckoning.
Seeing. Without seeing.
He's feeling, man. He's all about the vibes and not having anyone on his team die. Those are his big things.
He's got two big priorities. Dead Reckoning and ghost protocoling.
And rogue nationing.
And falling out.
And falling out of everything. Falling out of trains. Falling out of planes. Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on Dead Reckoning Part 1? I think we've talked about pretty much all the stuff that we wanted to get through, right?
What's the whole situation with 2? Are they filming it? Is it happening?
They are filming. They were filming.
It is not. Principal photography has not been completed on Dead Reckoning Part 2, as far as I can understand.
I saw McQuarrie say something like, "We have begun doing something in some country, but now like you can't do anything, right?" So
so it could be years until we see Dead Reckoning Part 2. But yeah, overall, I did have a good time with this movie. But it's so let's end by ranking, right? Like what our Mission Impossible movie ranks are.
I don't think this is an easy series to rank personally.
Mm-hmm. This is very personal. I think
it's hard because it gets real muddy to me at the top. Like the bottom is easy, but the top is harder for me. And did we do a ranking when we did the rewatch? Because I did not go back. I may have a completely different rank that I
That's okay. It's okay. Things change over time. That's fine. Okay. Why don't I start? And so let's just each run down the list and kind of provide a little light commentary on it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here are my ranks. Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, in my opinion, just like a complete success on every level. Incredible action, looks amazing, sounds amazing. It's like the best of what Mission Impossible can deliver. Mission Impossible 1 is my second.
Wow.
Brian De Palma, bringing the psychological thriller vibes to the Mission Impossible series. Great action that still looks good and holds up to this day, in my opinion. Like that train sequence still looks good, in my opinion.
Except for the explosion, but yeah.
Everything else is really, really great. Ghost Protocol, love just also really audacious in terms of the stunts, and obviously like the first movie where the template was set that this is going to be Tom Cruise hanging off of taller and taller things. Rogue Nation, still solid. Dead Reckoning Part 1, so I rank it number 5 out of 7. And then Mission Impossible 3, and then Mission Impossible 2. So those are my rankings. All right?
Yeah.
Devindra Hardwar, how do you rank the Mission Impossible films?
Very differently, but I will say I do like all of these movies, even the ones I put low. So this is like mainly a ranking of things I like.
Let's be clear. Yeah. Even Mission Impossible 2, I still think has a lot of redeeming quality. So like
we both love Mission Impossible 2. Yeah.
I wouldn't say love at this point, but I still like it and I still will defend it.
A big part of our friendship, Dave, was bonding over Mission Impossible 2.
No doubt. No doubt there. I like at least all of these movies. Love some of them. So like just because it's ranked at the bottom doesn't mean I don't like it. Okay, go ahead, Devindra.
So top for me is Rogue Nation. I think McQuarrie's jump into the series just felt so energetic. It feels like he had so much to prove because this is his biggest movie ever. And he worked
he did work on Ghost Protocol, but he wasn't a director in Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, he wasn't a director. I know he was doing script stuff with Cruise for a while, but that movie, I just rewatched it. It is so impressive. It just like flows. All the set pieces feel so good, and the introduction of Ilsa Faust, I think, again, one of the best action characters we've ever gotten. And the reason I rank this one above Fallout is because this one has a lot of great Ilsa Faust. She is not as in Fallout as much. She was dealing with her pregnancy and everything. So I love this movie. I love the opera sequence. I love the way like the opera actually weaves into the score of the movie. I love the sort of like romantic vibes it gives off to between her and Ethan. Like, I think that is a perfect movie. My second would be Fallout, which I think is very, very strong, but only big downside is less Ilsa, and I would need more Ilsa. I'm always wondering what's happening with Ilsa.
Where's
I would
Ilsa?
love to know.
All the
Where's
characters
Ilsa?
should be asking where Ilsa is.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
My third would be Ghost Protocol. And I do think this is another sort of like reboot of the series. It feels like every movie has been a little different. And Ghost Protocol is unique because it's coming after MI3. Brad Bird, I believe this is his first live action movie too. And it feels like a cartoon. It feels like The Incredibles. And I think like he is such a good visual stylist that this is when the series started going like full on Buster Keaton. Like just some of those, it's just fun visual stuff. My fourth would be Mission Impossible 3, because thank you, J.J. Abrams, for just rebooting this thing. I see people shitting on this movie now.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I don't like it. Funny. It's funny to just be around long enough to see like the dialogue change. And I'm sure some of these people were in goddamn diapers when that movie came out. So I don't know. But no, yes, it looks like a big budget episode of Alias. You know what's great? Alias. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with Mission Impossible 3. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, all time, one of the great villains there too. My next one would be Dead Reckoning. And I think just because it accomplishes a lot of things, it does many things very well, but to me, just not as strong as everything that came before. After that would be Mission Impossible 1, which I still really like. And that was not the first movie I saw in the series, so I don't have the attachment that people did in the mid 90s. I'm weirdly more attached to MI2, but as a film, I think Mission Impossible 1 is fantastic. And my last one is Mission Impossible 2, which again, like not a great movie, but damn, is it a fun one? And I will have a lot of fun with it at all times. Yeah.
I just think Mission Impossible 2 has aged poorly. That's all.
It ages very badly.
It was, I think, the top grossing film of the year that it came out. So it was a big deal when it came out, but it just ages poorly.
It was like everywhere in high school. Like it was just a thing everybody was talking about. We were just so blown away by the aesthetics of it and everything. So
yeah, we've put Dead Reckoning pretty close to the same spot, Devindra. Jeff Kanata, curious what your ranking of Mission Impossible movies is.
Yeah, you guys have covered a lot of this, but I'm going to put. I'm sorry. I feel like I have to sneeze, but it's not going to come. Now I mentioned it, it's not going to come. My number one is Ghost Protocol. The Burj Khalifa scene is the high watermark for this entire series for me. That is the most impressive thing I've seen an actor do on the big screen ever. If you ask Tom Cruise, he may tell you things were more difficult than that. For me, being outside the tallest building in the world, dancing around on a wire is nausea inducing. Like I break out in chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it is an incredible sequence, especially when I saw it in IMAX.
Yep.
And the way it plays in the movie where we have people on different floors and he's outside the building and they're trying to maintain stuff and he falls. It's just, for me, that sequence alone puts it number one of all of the Mission Impossibles. Then it gets real hard for me. I could argue, I could jostle the next two movies around, but I went with Rogue and Fallout in that order. But for a lot of the reasons you guys said, I could flip-flop those and be perfectly fine. I think both are very, very good and very fun. And then number 4, I put Dead Reckoning. I really like it. I had fun with that movie. I like these later era Mission Impossible movies more than the earlier era ones. I like the template that we have. I like our team being established already. I like the big set. I had a blast with this movie. Like I said, I love the airplane sequence. I love the little car sequence. I love the train sequence. That's a lot of movie to love. So that's why I put Dead Reckoning number 4. Then Mission Impossible 3, which is really fun. I think all of the him being married stuff muddies the entire series in a weird way, but it's still fun. And then Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 2. So that's my rankings. But I think for me, the movies kick into high gear post Mission Impossible 3. I know a lot of people love the J.J. Abrams. I enjoy that movie too. We did a big rewatch. I enjoyed it. but I definitely think you can draw a line after Mission Impossible 3, and then the series really becomes what I love about it.
For sure.
Agreed.
These are still Bad Robot productions, so like Abrams is still like a part of this, I guess, but not creatively. That's all McQuarrie now. Yeah.
Really? It's still a Bad Robot production?
It is, yeah.
Huh.
It still pops up, at least from what I saw, from what I recall.
Yeah, I don't recall that. Let me see if it's I don't. Oh yeah. No. Dead Reckoning is the first film in the series since Mission Impossible 2 not to involve J.J. Abrams in any capacity.
Okay.
And it's also the first film in the
and
series.
Look what happened. Okay.
It's also the first film to not be produced by Bad Robot since Mission Impossible 3.
Okay.
So you're true. It was all the way up to this one, but not this one. So
telling.
By the way, extremely random note that I wanted to put in the main review, but it is interesting that at this point there have been 7 Mission Impossible films, and the mask machine has broken in 3 of them. So it's just
I equate it to the Professor Charles Xavier problem, where we have something that is so powerful,
right,
and so effective in every situation. There's not a situation where Professor Charles Xavier is not useful. That you just got to knock him out for most of the movie.
Yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely, yeah. So
the moment that happens in Fallout is one of my favorite. When Superman hits the guy in the face in the bathroom with the laptop, and you hear that crunch, and you're all like, "There goes the face machine." It's a shame. Every time.
My favorite part of the thing is, okay, so in this movie, there's Vanessa Kirby's character, the White Widow, and her brother, I think, is Zola, right?
Yeah.
In real life, Zola is huge, I think, right? But Tom Cruise, that's the thing that's funny. The people that Tom Cruise can transform into can't be that tall. So they show an alternate version where Zola and White Widow, like where Tom Cruise and Haley Atwell have become those characters.
Yeah.
I am convinced that they put White Widow on like these massive platform shoes to make it seem like there's no height difference between the two of them, so that entire fictional sequence makes sense.
Well, Devindra kind of dogged the guy that he transforms into at the beginning in the
I'm just saying that guy looks weird.
Dude,
like that guy stands out.
What I loved about him, super short, but the second you see him, know it's Tom Cruise under there.
Yeah, it's like, that's Tom Cruise.
But that, like, what is that actor doing to give you that? Like, there's, right? There's not a second of moment where you're like, maybe that's just a guy. You know it's Tom Cruise, but it's just another actor. It's just another actor.
Yeah.
It's like in American Psycho where, what's his face? Actors' names are following me right now, but Christian Bale. Christian Bale was channeling Tom Cruise in American Psycho. So he was doing the same thing. Just like, be Tom Cruise in the meeting. Okay. Don't blink. Dead lizard eyes.
Well, at the end of the day, folks, it's really impressive that Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.